Welcome to this edition of Journals of Spiritual Discovery, brought to you by spiritualteachers.org. I'm your host, Sean Nevins. Hello and welcome to this edition of Journals of Spiritual Discovery. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention that the TAT Foundation, in honor of the 50th anniversary of that foundation, is starting a new online series, and it's called the TAT Talks. The first guest on that series will be Art Tickner. And that's coming up soon, May 13th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can go to tatfoundation.org, and I'm sure there'll be a banner on that page linking you to more information about that event. Again, that will be Art Tickner, featured on the TAT Talks. One other note I wanted to mention is that over the years, a number of you have made monthly contributions to my website, the podcast, and I deeply appreciate that. Recently, however, I asked all of those people to please redirect those contributions to the TAT Foundation. I really feel like that's a better long-term investment than my individual efforts. And of course, I am deeply involved in the TAT Foundation, helping that organization. And as witnessed by its 50th anniversary, I have great hopes and believe that organization will be around for many years to come. So thank you all again. Of course, you're always welcome to visit spiritualteachers.org and see more of our podcast episodes, the other resources there, the teacher reviews, and of course you can purchase my books on the site, my films, as well as the number of t-shirt designs that I've done. So, thank you again, and now let's get started with this month's episode. In November of 2022, Eddie Traversa passed away. Many of you may be familiar with Eddie's work through my website. I did an interview with Eddie on the podcast a number of years ago, and I always considered Eddie a spiritual friend, even though we didn't work closely together. He lived in Australia, of course in the United States, but I did enjoy my interactions with Eddie. I always felt deep kinship with him. I was very saddened to hear when he passed away, and I wanted to do something to try to continue his work. His website is actually already offline, unfortunately. He had a number of articles there, but I did find that his book, Truth Realization, is still available, at least for the time being. You can find that at lulu.com. And the book is a collection of articles that were on his website. I believe it was published in 2008 or so. So the articles are a little older, but many of them are excellent. I would definitely recommend that you pick up the book while it's still available. So for this month, I wanted to read a couple of those articles that are in his book that I thought were particularly profound. The first article is entitled, The Who Am I Koan. When we ask ourselves the question, who am I, in earnest, we have this expectation that we can answer the question. In reality, though, it is a trick question, which is designed to push you further and further into self, until you surrender completely and find no self exists, and the question of who am I is totally irrelevant. However, this is not a conceptual exercise. It isn't like saying, okay, I give up now, and then you just awaken. It isn't even like saying, well, since I cannot define who I am, I just give up trying. It's more akin to being in a fight with an adversary so powerful you stand no chance. This adversary keeps on punching you until you're down on your knees and you think, okay, I've had enough. I can't stand it. But when you say that, you almost instantly say, hang on, I'm not done yet. Your adversary keeps on punching you constantly. This time you are on your very last breath of life, and again you say, "Okay, had enough." That still is not awakening. Somehow you manage to have the thought, "I'm still not done. I'm going to die, I know it, but I am not going to give it up to my adversary." Your adversary swings at you with a fury and rage that is beyond fear, and the final death blow comes. You are completely and utterly shattered emotionally, intellectually. On all levels you are defeated. You are immobilized and death ensues. You know the futility of the exercise is a deep felt experience encompassing all facts of your human form. You give up. You let death take you. When death takes you, you look around and you're not there. Something is there, though, something that seems so beautiful that it is inexpressible. That is still not awakening. I bet you wish it was, though. You have a sense that it's not quite the end of the road. The adversary is still swinging blows at you, even in death, so you surrender again. The embrace of the nothingness takes you, and everything vanishes. God's will be done. And then you discover that you are this nothingness, this void, where the void is not devoid of anything, but is life itself. A life that can never be stated here in this world. That is awakening. That is the real purpose of asking the question, "Who am I?" To come to know the futility of asking the question in the first place. To come to know the futility of asking any question. To come to know the futility of having knowledge and spiritual techniques. Who are you? The next article is entitled Consciousness. Consciousness is what you want as a human being. It is where you will find an abundance of love, and the world will appear to be your oyster. In this lifetime, if you are on a spiritual path, you are treading paths to consciousness. Some will move beyond that by unbecoming until all paths, all thoughts, all emotions, all experiences are seen for the dream they are. All paths lead to consciousness eventually, be it in this lifetime or another. No path leads to spiritual enlightenment. Enlightenment is beyond the human being. Enlightenment is beyond consciousness. It is not a thing one can become. One can only unbecome and return home. Though returning home implies that something has been lost, and in reality nothing has. For now, though, the usage of returning home will suffice. Eventually all return home, just like the road to consciousness, though not necessarily in this lifetime. Most will stop along the way to enjoy the fruits of consciousness. Moving past consciousness becomes another thing altogether, where we are the dreamer, which is what we all really are, except there is no we. Consciousness is about connection and unity and manifestation. Enlightenment is alone, and things like connection, unity, and manifestation are seen for the reality of the dream that they are. Do you really want to be alone? The only thing in existence. You see, you can say you do, but you really don't. Not deep down. You will run to all sorts of things to not be alone. To nature, to repeating patterns of behavior, to distractions, to love, all to avoid one thing: fear. the fear of being alone, the fear of no self. It is not that we fear as ego. It is that we are fear. And to destroy the fear, we must destroy our hearts. That is why enlightenment is beyond consciousness. Consciousness is heart. Enlightenment is beyond. Does it mean that we then become emotionless when awake? Not at all. It is only that the emotions are no longer us. Rather, they just occur in experience and are viewed as a dream, as all things are. A dream, a fairy tale, a thing of imagination. Thank you for listening to this edition of Journals of Spiritual Discovery. I'm your host, Sean Nevins. For more information about today's guest, as well as more interviews, books, and other resources, go to spiritualteachers.org. That's spiritualteachers.org.